Hey everyone. So today I've got something a little bit different and exciting to try out with you guys. I'm going to be drawing Superman, but I'm going to do it in real time. And there's a couple reasons I wanted to do this today. One is, if you didn't know or weren't aware, I am very new to YouTube. This is only my third real full video. I posted some shorts of some of my drawings and sped up versions of my drawing process, but this is going to be the kind of the real deal as far as for how I would sketch something. The other reason, and maybe the more important reason, is to kind of share with you guys why I started this channel and kind of tell you guys some stuff about me and maybe some of my motivations and what I'm trying to accomplish here. Bear with me because I am going to be talking and drawing at the same time. So if I go quiet because I'm focusing on a part of the drawing, I apologize for that in advance. But without any further ado, I just wanted to kind of show you guys. So I'm starting with basically an oval shape. You can see I cut off the side with this little circle thing. It's very Loomis method. If you watch my head and face drawing video, I've got this shape that comes down like this, and especially for superheroes like Superman, shape works really well because it gives you a nice reliable chin shape. It's good for those type of characters. So I want to figure out the perspective of these eyebrows and kind of make them more boxy, because what I want to do is make the head feel as three-dimensional as possible. So get those eyes in about halfway down, and if you loop the eyes around the head, it is more technically accurate, but you risk some things if you do it in the layout process because you're more susceptible to asymmetry. So it also helps to think of the head as a box sometimes. So I've got something like this going on. You guys can see this. I'll come around to this side. And the head is on a bit of an angle here, which is why they're not all perfectly straight up and down, but putting it in a box, something like that. And then we can curve the eyes and stuff around the skull as we see fit once we get closer to rendering. But for now, we just want something like this. Maybe give him a little bit of a smirk here. And the mouth also, you want to make sure that it's kind of lining up. And especially a character like Superman, because the whole idea of Superman is he looks perfect. Like, you're drawing a typical model head. When I say model, I mean not supermodel type head, but the typical proportions of a face. You want them to be pretty accurate and maybe even exaggerate some elements that are deemed typically more attractive on males. So for example, bigger neck, make them look extra powerful. The chin, give them a nice wide, thick, powerful chin, powerful jaw. You can see I'm just kind of tweaking these just a little bit. That's all you need. You don't need to go crazy. we want to make sure we can use some almost like Riley rhythms to measure things here. We want a nice powerful brow there. Overlaps that. Maybe cut off some of this. Make it look like it's going further down. And like I said, I want to share with you guys why I'm starting this channel. So, one thing that I've never understood in the art community and art YouTube and stuff is it seems like, and this is no shade on anyone because they are important elements, but it's all the same things over and over again for the most part. Now, obviously, I haven't watched every single art YouTube channel to know that for a fact, but I've watched a lot of the big ones, and it seems like it's the same lessons just taught in various different wordings and semantic differences and stuff, but it's basically the same stuff. And my goal is to teach you guys some of the important stuff that I've learned that I didn't learn from YouTube videos, or if I did, they weren't explained in a very succinct way. It's kind of a roundabout type of learning. It's like, oh, that's why they're doing this. So that's why, for example, in my first YouTube video was about the shoulder girdle and how important that is when it comes to gestures and getting that to twist extra as opposed to just the rib cage and pelvis that I've seen taught, I mean, dozens of times, and by dozens of different artists. It's not just the same one over and over again. And it's like, okay, well, that is important, but I can hear this on another video too. Like, what am I getting as a viewer out of this video that I didn't get from that other video that was out there 5, 6, 7 years ago? And so I wanted to go over things that I don't see covered very often. And even in my drawing heads and faces video, I was just watching a video today earlier that was talking about different ways to draw the face and different methods and stuff. And I never see this shape that I was telling you guys about. Never seen it taught. Now I could see it in the Riley rhythms that they were going over. I could identify a shape similar to that, but they didn't go over it and explain what it was. It's like, okay, well, there's a rhythm that goes like this, and then there's a rhythm from here to here, and so on and so forth. But they didn't show how important that one was to turn it. And I was like, oh, well, from one perspective, it's like, well, that's kind of annoying, because if I didn't know what it was, I'd be like, okay, well, I've got to learn all these rhythms and figure them out. And from the perspective I'm at now, it's like, well, it's kind of neat that they don't explain it. It's weird, but it's like, I wonder why they don't go into that. And I think the answer is because they are appealing to the masses, you know. And I think that this channel is probably going to be geared more towards, I don't want to say more advanced artists, but it's going to be about more advanced topics, more nuance, more specificity than I think you'll get out of a lot of channels. And the reason for that is because I would like to go viral, so please like and share with your friends and anyone you think would be interested in this. But my goal is to teach you guys stuff. And if I teach you the same thing that you've already learned, from somewhere else, it doesn't really do you much good. And I've also run into cases where I've heard contrary things. I've seen, oh, don't use the Loomis method if you're cartooning and stuff like that. So you run into a trap of maybe hyperbole if you get too stuck in one way of thinking. And I don't want to do that or go over the same thing and maybe contradict what you'll learn in another video from someone that, you know, might do things quote unquote more accurately than me, which we're not even quote unquote more accurate, but they do things more accurately because they're doing portrait drawings or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, what they can't do better is, hey, there's this shape here, and you can use it and adjust it in female and male faces and do with it what you want. They can't really say much more than that about it. And that's kind of what I want to tell you guys about, is just do things that look cool to you. That's the point of art. That's where it comes from. That's the appeal of it. That is the purpose of it, is make things that are attractive to you and things that you would like to look at. And that's why they say there's no such thing as bad art, quote, that's objectively bad. Now, there can be inaccurate proportions, and there can be childish renderings of things. You know, if I draw a stick figure with a big torso, little legs, little arms, or one arm bigger than the other, it's like, okay, that's a kid's sketch, but is it a bad drawing? Well, no, it's just not done, and there's not a lot of knowledge behind it. But is it a bad drawing? No. But at the same time, could it be better? Just like every drawing. Yeah, absolutely. Even the most masterful paintings could probably be improved upon somehow, because even if they look identical to a photo or something that they're referenced off of, you could look at something like Simon Bisley and say, well, this work is actually more creative, and this basically photograph copy doesn't have any artistic merit. It's just, why is that more valuable than the photograph? And therein lies the artistic evaluation of pricing and stuff like that. It's, why is it worth anything? And the main answer that it all comes down to is, art's worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. So there's no inherent or objective value to it, other than, okay, I like this, I want this, and I want to pay to have this. And that's why it's really important to do what you like, because if you like doing something, the odds are, one, you'll be good at it. If you hate doing portraits, but someone says, draw me, and if you've been drawing out in public or anything, I'm sure this has happened to you. It happens all the time. It's, hey, will you draw me? Or, hey, will you draw my family? And it's very annoying, because if you hate doing portraits, you're probably not going to be good at it. So you want to do what you like. If you're used to drawing in an anime manga style, and someone says, I want you to draw in a American comic style, and you're like, well, I don't really do that. I don't really like the way that American comics look for whatever reason, you probably won't be good at drawing that way. Or at least you won't be as good at it as you would be drawing it in a manga style. So maybe what you could do to get around that is adapt some elements in a way that you do like. And that's a good way of learning and growing as an artist, is being able to broaden your horizons and do different things. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you like, or else there's not really a point. Everyone just kind of gets a bad end of the deal if you shortchange yourself like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and start inking this guy real quick. Try to make it look somewhat decent. Just kind of going kind of quick, so this video doesn't last forever and take up too much of you guys' time. One important note that I'll make here as far as what I'm doing, I got the underlying structure down, so now I just lightened it down. So now I can basically just sketch with my ink and not have to worry too much about proportion. And I can just draw shapes in that I like and think look cool, because the proportion should already be taken care of. When it comes to drawing these big shapes like eyebrows, you want to start thin if you're doing it this way. And the reason is, you can always make them thicker, and you can make them thinner too. You can use white out. But if we want to try to avoid doing that with this type of sketch, at least we want to try to avoid that if we can. But at the same time, what we don't want to do, here I'm just checking the perspective, and I know that my tendency naturally is to draw this side a little lower than this side. That's just the way that my art kind of pulls. But you can always make things thicker. It's much harder to make things thinner, because even if you white it out, because it's the focal point of the drawing, it will be a little bit more noticeable. And we don't really want to have noticeable mistakes. We want them to be more or less invisible or negligible. So I'm just going to kind of gradually thicken this up as we go, and just kind of make the shapes what I want them to be. And that's really the tricky part about sketching from loose pencils as opposed to tight pencils, is you've got to figure out the shapes with the ink. You can't figure them out because they're not figured out for you with the pencil. So for this sketch, we're keeping it pretty simple. So you'll notice this line here overlaps because the cheekbone, like we can see here, well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but wraps around the eye socket. So the shape will go all the way back to the ear here. And you can go ahead and define in the nose. And another tricky thing when drawing like this is knowing when to stop. In other words, how much is too much definition of an area. Like, should this be black? Should it be open? Should it be rendered or gray? These are all choices now that you've got to make a bit more permanently. So I'm just defining in the ball of the nose there. And I think I mentioned this before, but maybe I just thought it and didn't say it, but I'll say it again just in case, who cares. Superman is a pretty tricky character to draw. Easy and tricky at the same time. Simple. But it's easy in that you don't have to worry about too many facial details and, oh, is his nose supposed to be short? Are his eyes super wide? Does he look like a kid? Things like that you don't really have to worry about. But what you do have to worry about is he looks perfect. And perfect is hard to actually give life to, because it's almost against nature to be perfect and symmetrical. And so when we see it in a drawing, it looks right in a drawing, but in real life, it doesn't. It's like unnatural. So if we see Henry Cavill and whatever, his right eye is higher than his left, let's just say, for example, and so that was drawn accurately by me unintentionally, it won't look right in the drawing because it'll look like a mistake. And we don't want that. We want our drawings to look good and appealing. And it's hard to distort a perfect face. So if it's getting punched or smiling or grimacing, in an exaggerated way, it can be difficult. It can be hard to say, okay, well, this is how a perfect face grimaces, because, well, what's the reference for that? You can give good proportions to it, but that doesn't necessarily always work, because the face gets smushed and you get these nose wrinkles and stuff. So I'm seeing this. Eyebrows were a little bit far off. Can put this in for the bridge of the nose. Should be further over. And this is what I'm saying. You can always add more shadows. What you can't do is pull them out as easily. So now there's a little muscle there for when people laugh or smile. And I hope this is useful for you guys. I hope you guys like this. And if not, I'm just trying it out. Please forgive me. But just think it's kind of a cool thing to share with you guys early on. And hopefully in a couple of years I can look back at this and kind of laugh at myself and say, man, I was really bad at YouTube. And hopefully be able to say I'm much better now. But we'll see if that's the case or not. I'll try to learn from my mistakes and all as much as possible. So if you guys could have some grace for me, that would be much appreciated, because I am doing my best out here for you all, because that's all I can really do at the end of the day. So now I'm just kind of going a little bit quiet because I'm trying to evaluate if everything is looking all right. I'm gonna go ahead and check the camera. Okay, Yeah, it's looking okay so far. So this is the bridge of the nose here. Comes down. So I'm thinking about in three-dimensional form. So I'll just go ahead and show you guys with a pencil here. So the bridge of the nose goes like this, just like glasses, and then it comes out, and then the ball of the nose sticks out like this, and the nostril comes like that, and then this part comes down and makes the eye socket like that, and then the same thing is on the other side. If we go here, we can actually see right where that's supposed to be. We go like that. Okay. So now I've got to decide, okay, do I want to incorporate this line here or not? Because it is away from the light source, but will it be too much? So I'm just going to start like that and say, okay, maybe. So now the furthest part of this nose is going to be there. Pull this over in perspective, be about there. Now, does that look okay? I don't know, but we'll come back to it and see. So, going to define that in lightly. And now this can come and connect to this cheekbone here. And so in our initial layout, we've got this this shape that I explained before. And here is the bottom side of it. So we'll just go there. And I didn't do it there, but we're going to go thick to thin up towards the light. And we'll just do about 3 like that. If we want, maybe throw in one there. And we could even throw one for the bottom of the cheekbone. Throw in something like that. And now, depending on where the light's coming from, if his jaw was clenched, there is a form that goes like this, if you see it from the side, and then it will come back like this. And I'm thinking maybe we will define that in because he's smiling. Something like that. And now to match it, we'll go right from here, something like that. And that looks okay to me. So now can go ahead and get this in nice and thick because we can fix this with a cast shadow anyway, even if we mess it up. Go ahead and get this cape in, and with something like a cape that is organic, it can actually help. You want to do it in a straight, well, not in a straight line, but in a single line like this, and really let your hand wiggle. I'll show you guys why. Now I'm going to go ahead and do it straighter, but still give it a little wiggle. And you can basically, for this type of line, do it as straight as you can. Same thing here. And now for the back of the cape, we're going to throw in a straight line here. Then we're going to do the same thing as we did over there, but even more exaggerated because it's coming towards us a little bit. And just kind of let your hand go. Don't worry too much about it. Because what we're going to do now is put in some of the folds of the cape. So put that in there. And I'm thinking that might be too high. I'm thinking the neck might actually come down more, but we'll see. And so now I kind of messed this line up, but we can just thicken it up. And I know that hair is going to be black. You can go ahead and get into the ear here. Very thin up towards the light source, thicker down to the bottom. So now this inner part is going to catch some, going to cast some shadows on itself. And for ears, that's all you really need. You don't need too much detail. The ears really don't add or subtract much in general from the drawing unless it's done really wrong. And in my video on drawing heads and faces, I did do a tutorial on ears, a little mini one, and just how I kind of draw ears. So go ahead and give him some baby hairs there for the back of his neck. So now maybe we could go ahead and finish these eyes. We'll go ahead and give him some blue eyes. And maybe what I'll do even, just so I don't mess this up, let's go ahead and kind of lightly pencil these in. Light and rough. Just to make sure it's not too cross-eyed or anything. Looks all right, I think. So I just wasted a little bit of time, but should save us some of whiting it out. So now we put in the pupil. The light is coming from this way, so we're gonna go ahead and throw in a highlight like that. Same thing on this side, but a little smaller. So that should be good enough. For that, now what we can do is thicken up this part, the eye a little bit. And that's the cast shadow from the upper lid. And that's all we're really doing. We're always thinking about how to make these things look more three-dimensional. And also how to make them look better, how to make them look more graphically appealing. So one thing I'm seeing is I still want these eyebrows to be a bit thicker, because that is a very masculine trait, is thick eyebrows. Maybe I'm just saying that because I got pretty thick eyebrows myself. But I just think it looks a little bit better on Superman. If you look at the way that he's traditionally drawn, it seems to be the case. Or something that they thought was also the case. So here, I kind of messed up the line at the bottom of this chin, but that's okay because it's supposed to be a bit thicker anyway, because it is the closest to us and also going away from the light. And this is going to actually cast the shadow down anyway. So we go for his collar. Put a nice line like that. And it's important when you're outlining your characters to use a little bit thicker line. I didn't used to like doing that. I used to approach it with a much thinner line for the outlines. You'll see kind of David Finch, when he draws, he starts with a 0.01 marker, I believe. Got one right here. So he starts with one of these when he's outlining his drawings. And but then he comes back in with something similar to this and thickens up the line weight in certain areas. And I still don't really understand why he does it that way. He says it's because if he makes a mistake, it's easier to white out the thinner lines, which is true. But to me, it's like, why wouldn't you kind of start with the thicker line like this and then go into detail later with the thinner marker? But he would know better than me, and I just tried it that way, and I was always too scared to go back in, and maybe a little bit lazy too, because I felt like I was just redrawing the same stuff over and over. So let's get into the hair and finish off this face. So I'm just kind of drawing in the hairline, but I think that should be doing. Superman's hair is always something that has befuddled me. Never understood why he changes his hair, other than, I guess, to conceal his identity is the reason. But I thought that's what the glasses were for. But the reason it's kind of hard for me to understand is, depending on the artist you're looking at, sometimes they will draw in slick back hair with just some curls, and then other times they'll draw in these just like really wild hair with no rhyme or reason, and never really knew what to make of that, or which one was right, or which one was an actual artistic liberty and which one was kind of more canon. So I'm kind of still trying to make up my mind on what I'm trying to do here with this. So for those of you that don't know, I went over this a little bit in my Head and Faces drawing tutorial video. So the hairline should be about from the eyebrows to the nose. This distance right here should be from the eyebrows to the hairline. And as you can see, it's a little bit less. It should probably be up higher. But this is just me rationalizing my decision here a little bit. The reason it's a little bit lower is to emphasize that, you know, he's a superhero. He doesn't have a receding hairline at all. He's got a little bit of a widow's peak, but no receding hairline. And so it's actually forward a little bit. As you can see, it's so this would be the perfect distance, but his is a little bit lower, which is, again, maybe a little bit more ideal. And this is also the same distance that should be from that to the chin, which you can see I got pretty close to. I just made the chin a little bit wider, and then I moved the mouth up a little bit closer to his nose so that that chin looks a little bit even bigger. So this is the decision, is where do the curls start? What are they doing? And kind of arbitrarily, I'm gonna say that they're gonna start here. And I'll show this in pencil so you guys can actually see. So they're gonna start here. They're gonna go down like this, okay? And then this hair is gonna wrap back around like that. We got a little split in the hair. It's gonna come over like this. And we're gonna have this all planed off like this. So this is gonna be a plane. And we're gonna have a big curl there. Maybe even make that a little bit bigger and join it with some others. I don't know if you guys can even see that right now or not. And we'll throw out a curl there too. Okay. So it's gonna be, and then this hair is all gonna go back like this. So it's gonna be hard for you guys to see right now a little bit, but it'll be clearer with the inks. So it's very important. This is going to be one of those cliche things that you'll hear talked about all the time when it comes to drawing hair, but it is so important. The hair is three-dimensional, and we want to shade it and draw it to look three-dimensional. We don't want it to be flat. So when we can do things like this and overlap it, that will help us. So here we can say that this is going underneath that, wrapping around and down, doing something like that. That's going to be our main curl. And then this is going to come out like that. So I'm really just trying to feel the forms here. What's going on? What am I doing here? What I don't want to do is have a ton of crossing stuff. You want the silhouette to still be nice and clear as far as what's going on. What direction is that hair going? So something like that works quite well, I think. So now on this side, this hair is going to be going this way because here is the middle of the head. So now this is going to wrap around. And we've got the, so I'm seeing here, I want something that's like that, but I don't know if I want it to connect back here or in front. So what I'm going to do is imagine, well, I was going to say, well, I wanted to imagine it connecting in the front and have it go back like that. And I think that looks okay, but I'm going to have to go in and clean that up because at the moment it does not look great. But So we've got these strands going like this. And we've got these strands going like this. And this is the benefit of drawing black hair, darker hair, is you can kind of play around with this a bit more. And you'll see once I ink it that a lot of these lines and all are going to be gone. But, and when I say gone, they're going to be blacked out. They're not going to be visible anymore. So now what I'm going to do is say, okay, what are the black areas? And more precisely, what are my lights? What are going to be the highlights? So I'm thinking the light's coming from this way, because we define that here. So, and as I'm saying that, I'm seeing this. Could be defined. Okay. So our light shape is going to be this shape right here. So we can just do something like this. And like that. And now this is going to be all white. This is going to be mostly black. And so for under here, pretty much going to be all black, and just render it with a couple highlights in there. Again, just trying to keep the form, which is the most important thing. Keep it nice and understandable, clear. Keep this in there for a little hairline. And so now here, you could do this a couple different ways, but we're saying that because we got our, we'll call this a horizontal highlight, what we can do is match that but come down and make it a vertical one as it comes to the side of the head. So it's going like this. And getting smaller as it gets further away from the light source from up above. So I'm seeing something like that. Now I can even render it a little more. So I'm seeing that he's got like a chunk of his head missing over here. Go ahead and fix that up. So we've got this all defined. Throw in some hard shapes in there. So now for these guys, because it's black hair, you can just think, okay, what's going to catch the light? well, probably some cross section like this. And then this side is going to be thicker. And again, it's about trying to leave it as readable as possible. And you can kind of tell at this point, okay, well, this is going to read like this. This is going to read as hair, or this is going to read as just black shapes. So now I can go ahead and throw some rendering in. Do the same thing here. We'll say there's a shadow there. And now we can apply this to this way. And what should happen as the highlights get smaller is the hair actually becomes more and more reflective appearing. So something like that should be pretty good. That looks okay. Maybe even render out from this. So one thing I'm seeing is this should probably have a bounce light. Get this going. Doesn't have to be a ton, just enough. Just something like that. We might even go back in and thin that out after it dries. One thing, if you're ever using whiteout, you never want to erase over top of it, because it will smudge and really ruin your drawing. If you do it, you'll have to use a lot more to get rid of the smudge. So again, being very careful, mindful of that. So now we'll get into the clothing folds, or the cape folds. So our point of origin is going to be here, and that they're all going to wrap around like this. So there. And now this is going to be our first fold, so the closest one to us. That's on this side of the body. It's going to be like that. So now there's a little recess here. So we're going to draw a line to indicate that that's the top of the next fold. Then we can do another fold. And do something like that. Now, one thing that I'm seeing that I don't like is they're all the same size, roughly. And I don't like that because it's too symmetrical. So what I'm going to do, throw in an extra little one here. So now I got a couple small ones, big one, and then a small one here. And that looks okay to me. I don't really want to do more because then we risk making them all look symmetrically small, which is harder to fix even. So I'm seeing the top of this shape, and this is going to be our back shape. Throw something like that. Actually, there's another shape here. And put a shape here. I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not, but folds are pretty easy to white out anyway. So there's the top of our front shape. So now we've got a little curve like this. So we know that's an indentation. There's another indentation here. And we'll make it a little bit further back because it's receding in space here, away from us. And if we wanted, could even say, okay, maybe there's a little ridge inside of this. Do something like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean this shape up at the end, but just to show. Now this is just breaking up right where that light's going to hit, just like that, just like on the hair. And then what we can do is say, okay, well, we've got a shape here, and they're all receding out from there, but maybe, because these diamonds are all pointing in, we can put one pointing out. Do something like that. This might work, might not. But it's fun to have fun with these things. So I think it kind of works if I do something like this. But what I'm gonna have to do is say, okay, well, there's like a shadow coming down. Now I step back and analyze and say, do I like it? Do I not like it? What do I like about it? What don't I like about it? And for me, because it's Superman and it's supposed to be kind of light, I'm thinking that I probably don't like it. And that I'm probably gonna have to get rid of it. But because that's the case, I'm gonna have to get rid of it anyway. I'm gonna come back to it. So this is the shape for the Adam's apple I'm drawing in here. I'm giving this a little bit of reflected light. And I'm gonna come back up to the neck. We're gonna define in that shape for this muscle that goes from the neck down to here. Down to collarbone, right in the middle. And I'm still trying to be creative and figure out ways of how I can make that work. Maybe if I did something like that. And once you make a mistake like that, it's kind of good to know that it's the opposite of when we're inking with the whiteout. It's the opposite. It's, we want to make as many mistakes, we want to get them all out of the way at once, so we can go in and white out everything at once and go back in with the inks. instead of going back and forth between whiteout and inks. Sorry, I went quiet there for a second. So now I'm just going ahead and doing Superman's emblem here. So got a shape like that. So this is the thing I gotta try to remember here. Is how this goes. Could probably even just get away with something like this for now. But I believe it goes like that. So this is a good way to get around drawing it while still kind of drawing it. So now we're pretty far away from our focal point, so you can get a little messier. What I'm doing here is measuring where the neck comes into the body is where the chest is going to come out of. It's going to be like this. And I think that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and white out some of this stuff. But besides that, it's for all intents and purposes done. I hope you guys enjoyed it and don't mind me rambling too much when I remember to talk. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the finished product here in just 1 second, because I did not like what was going on with that cape. Especially since it was right in line with the light source. And now I'm thinking, see, I want to go ahead and erase first. Maybe getting rid of that line. That we can defend with saying it's that muscle. Go ahead down like that. And put a little fold in like this. I think that looks a bit better. Picking up some of these line weights, looking there. Picking this up because it's wrapping around the chest. And I think that's pretty much it. I think we're pretty much done. Careful to not stick my fingers in that whiteout. Maybe throw in a bit of a cast shadow here. Maybe, do I like how thick that line is there? Not really. So now I got to decide, do I want to do it from this way or this way? Well, this side looks a little messier. So I think that's pretty much it. Maybe this will do. Well, that'll pretty much do it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, keep drawing.